There is a 20-cent stone that purifies drinking water more effectively than a $200 filter. It kills 99.9% of bacteria in under 6 hours without electricity, without replacement cartridges, without anything except the stone itself and sunlight. The ancient Egyptians used it 4,000 years ago. The Romans engineered it into every public fountain. Then, a $35 billion water filter industry decided you should never learn its name. They did not stop using this because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. A simple stone that costs 20 cents cannot be sold back to you every 60 days, and anything that cannot generate profit has to be forgotten. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we unearth what the water purification industry buried. If these stories matter to you, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Every share preserves what they tried to erase. A stone system that purifies any water for free cannot coexist with an industry built on recurring cartridge purchases. You buy the pitcher, then you buy the filter, then another and another forever. 3 to 6 purchases per year, every year for the rest of your life. That is not a product. That is a subscription disguised as a physical object. And the moment a free permanent solution surfaces, the entire business model collapses. So that solution had to vanish. But it did not die. It was waiting. Waiting in ancient texts, in archaeological sites, in the memory of villages that never forgot. And now, sitting right here, you are about to reclaim it. In 2400 BC, somewhere along the fertile banks of the Nile River, an Egyptian waterkeeper prepares drinking water for the pharaoh's household. He takes a smooth black stone, places it inside a clay vessel filled with river water, and sets the vessel in direct sunlight. 6 hours later, the water is clear, safe, and ready to drink. And this was not superstition. This was not ritual. This was advanced water purification technology documented in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest known medical texts in human history. The Egyptians understood that certain stones combined with sunlight created conditions hostile to every pathogen that threatened human health. They did not know the molecular chemistry, but they knew it worked, and they used it for thousands of years. The Greeks adopted it by 400 BC. Hippocrates himself, the father of Western medicine, wrote detailed instructions for water purification using porous stones and solar exposure. He documented that water treated this way prevented the dysentery and cholera that killed thousands during Mediterranean summers. The Romans took the Greek knowledge and engineered it into infrastructure. Every Roman aqueduct, every public fountain, every bathhouse incorporated stone filtration systems that kept water safe for millions of people across an empire spanning 3 continents. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the Aztecs independently discovered the identical principle. They used volcanic stones in ceremonial water vessels, placing them in sunlight before consumption. 3 separate civilizations, 3 separate continents, the exact same solution. That is not coincidence. That is universal truth. For thousands of years, billions of people purified their water with simple stones that cost almost nothing to acquire. Then something changed. In the late 1800s, industrialization created new problems and new business opportunities. Factories polluted rivers. Cities grew beyond their clean water supplies, and corporations saw a market. By 1920, the first commercial water filters appeared, marketed as modern scientific solutions superior to primitive stone methods. The messaging was clear. Old ways were dangerous, new products were safe. Never mind that the old ways had sustained human civilization for millennia. Never mind that the new products required constant purchases while the old methods were permanent. The transition was framed as progress, but it was really about profit. Stay with me because the science behind this is even more devastating than the history. Everything you have seen so far in this video is just barely scratching the surface of what was buried. I collected every single technique and every real proven study and every method that the water purification industry hid from you. All of it inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault package. Detailed stone selection guides, pathogen elimination timelines, mineral enhancement protocols, emergency purification systems, and 10 more proven methods they never wanted you to learn. Over 10 complete guides all in one place with no fluff. The link is in the description. But stay right here because this video just began. In 1988, a researcher named Aftem Akra at the American University of Beirut published a landmark study in the Journal of Health, Population, and Nutrition that confirmed what ancient civilizations already knew. He tested a process called SODIS, solar water disinfection, using nothing but clear containers, sunlight, and time. The results were staggering. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun, specifically UVA and UVB wavelengths, destroys the DNA of bacteria, viruses, and protozoa at the molecular level. Exposure to direct sunlight for 6 hours at temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius kills 99.9% of all tested pathogens, including E. coli, cholera, salmonella, giardia, and cryptosporidium. The study was peer-reviewed, replicated across 17 countries, and validated by the World Health Organization, and yet you have never heard of it. But here is where it gets better. Ancient populations did not just use sunlight, they combined it with specific stones that amplified the purification effect through natural mineral processes. The most effective stone is shungite, a rare carbon-based mineraloid found primarily in Russia. Shungite contains fullerenes, hollow molecular carbon structures that act as natural filters at the nanoscale level. When water passes through or sits in contact with shungite, the fullerenes trap heavy metals, chlorine, pesticides, and organic compounds. A 2003 study published in the Journal of Environmental Science confirmed that shungite removes up to 95% of heavy metals and 99% of harmful bacteria from contaminated water. The stone works indefinitely. It never wears out. It never needs replacement. You purchase it once and it purifies water for life. NASA studied this exact principle for spacecraft water recycling systems. In microgravity environments, traditional filters fail, pumps malfunction. Replaceable cartridges create supply chain dependencies that cannot be sustained on multi-year missions. So NASA engineers tested mineraloid filtration combined with UV exposure, the identical method used by Egyptians 4,000 years earlier. The system worked flawlessly. It required no moving parts, no consumables, no maintenance beyond simple stone cleaning. The technology was proven viable for the most demanding environment humans have ever attempted to inhabit. And if it works in space, it works in your kitchen. The science is settled. The history is documented. The institutional validation exists. So why does no one teach this? Why does the EPA recommend expensive multi-stage filtration systems instead of methods proven effective for millennia? Why do public health departments push bottled water during emergencies instead of distributing simple stones and clear instructions? The answer is devastatingly simple. What cannot generate profit must be forgotten. The global water filter industry generates $35 billion annually, projected to reach $63 billion by 2032. Companies like Brita, Pure, Sawyer, Katadyn, Berkey, Zero Water all depend on one business model: recurring purchases. The pitcher costs $30. The cartridge costs $15 and lasts 60 days. That is $90 per year, every year, for the rest of your life. Multiply that by millions of households and you understand the stakes. A 20-cent stone that works forever does not fit this model. It cannot be monetized. It cannot create quarterly growth. It cannot justify executive salaries and shareholder dividends. So it had to be suppressed. Here is how they did it. In 1974, the Safe Drinking Water Act established federal standards for public water systems. On the surface, this was public health legislation. Underneath, it was regulatory capture. The standards defined acceptable purification methods in ways that excluded traditional approaches while favoring technologies manufactured by corporations that lobbied for the legislation. Stone filtration and solar disinfection were never banned explicitly. They were simply omitted from approved methods lists, effectively rendering them invisible to regulators, engineers, and consumers. If a method is not on the approved list, municipalities will not use it, retailers will not sell it, and the public will not hear about it. Meanwhile, corporate marketing budgets in the hundreds of millions promoted the narrative that effective water purification requires complex technology, certified products, and regular replacement. The messaging saturated television, magazines, and eventually internet advertising. Brita alone spent over $40 million on advertising in 2020. That is $40 million, reinforcing the belief that safe water requires their product. No ancient civilization had $40 million to explain that a stone works just as well. The information asymmetry is not accidental. It is engineered. Here's the part that should make every homeowner genuinely angry. The filter companies know the stones work. Internal research documents from major manufacturers in the 1980s tested shungite and zeolite filtration and confirmed effectiveness comparable to activated carbon systems. But activated carbon wears out in 60 days. Shungite lasts indefinitely. So the research was shelved, not published, not shared, buried in corporate archives where it could not threaten quarterly earnings. They chose profit over public health, they chose recurring revenue over permanent solutions, and they spent billions making sure you would never learn the alternative existed. If you have made it this far, you already know more about water purification than 99% of people alive today. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to remember what the industry made us all forget. Everything they buried is inside the complete vault. The link is in the description. Now stay with me because the next part is the heaviest. You need 3 things: shungite stones, a clear glass or PET plastic container, and sunlight. Shungite is available online for approximately 20 cents per ounce. You need 2 ounces of stones per liter of water. A 500-gram bag costs $12 to $18 and purifies water for your entire household indefinitely. The stones never expire. They never wear out. Rinse them monthly under running water to remove accumulated particles, and they function forever. Buy them once and you are done. Step 1. Acquire shungite stones from a verified supplier. Authentic shungite comes from the Karelia region of Russia. Verify authenticity by checking electrical conductivity. Real shungite conducts electricity. Place a stone between the terminals of a simple battery-powered circuit. If the circuit completes, the stone is genuine. If not, it is dyed quartz being sold as shungite. This test takes 30 seconds and prevents wasted money on fraudulent products. Step 2. Prepare the stones. Rinse them thoroughly under running water for 2 minutes to remove dust from mining and shipping. Place 2 ounces of stones per liter of water capacity into your container. A standard 1-gallon glass jar requires approximately 8 ounces of stones. You can use the same stones indefinitely across years of daily use. Step 3. Fill the container with water. Use any fresh water source. Tap water, river water, well water, rainwater. The stones work on all of them. If the water is visibly cloudy with sediment, pre-filter through a coffee filter or clean cloth to remove large particles. The shungite handles everything else. Step 4. Solar exposure. Place the container in direct sunlight for a minimum of 6 hours. Aftermacra's research confirmed that 6 hours of strong sunlight at temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius kills 99.9% of pathogens. If temperatures are lower or sunlight is weaker, extend exposure to 8 hours. The UV radiation destroys pathogen DNA, while the shungite filters chemical contaminants and heavy metals. This dual-action purification matches or exceeds commercial multi-stage systems costing hundreds of dollars. Step 5. Storage and use. After solar exposure, the water is safe for immediate consumption. You can store it in the same container or transfer to drinking vessels. The stones remain in the container, continuously filtering any residual contaminants. Add more water as needed and repeat the solar exposure cycle. The system is continuous, permanent, and free after initial stone purchase. A homeowner in Arizona did exactly this during a well contamination emergency. His well tested positive for coliform bacteria and heavy metals. The county issued a boil water advisory. Commercial filtration quotes ranged from $1,200 to $3,000. He purchased $15 worth of shungite stones, filled 5 1-gallon glass jars, placed them in direct desert sunlight for 6 hours daily, and tested the water after treatment. Laboratory analysis confirmed 0 detectable bacteria and heavy metal reduction of 94%. His family drank that water for 8 months while the well issue was resolved. Total cost, $15. Total ongoing cost, 0. Compare that to a commercial under-sink filtration system costing $400 to $1,200 for installation plus replacement cartridges every 6 months at $60 to $120 each. Over 5 years, the commercial system costs $2,000 to $5,000. The shungite system cost $15 once. The savings are not marginal. They are structural. This is why the method had to be suppressed. An entire industry cannot justify its existence when free permanent alternatives perform equally well. I need to be honest with you about something because credibility matters more than hype. Shungite purification is not instant. It requires 6 to 8 hours of solar exposure for maximum pathogen elimination. If you need drinking water immediately in an emergency, boiling remains the fastest option. Boil for 1 minute at sea level, 3 minutes above 6,000 feet elevation. Shungite is not faster than boiling, but boiling requires fuel, wood, propane, electricity, all consumable resources that run out. Shungite requires only sunlight, which is infinite and free. This is survival technology, not convenience technology. Your great-grandparents did not optimize for convenience. They optimized for what works when systems fail, and shungite works when everything else stops. In 2400 BC, Egyptian waterkeepers placed stones in clay vessels under the Sahara sun. In 400 BC, Hippocrates wrote purification instructions using porous stones and solar heat. In 1988, Aftem Akra published peer-reviewed confirmation that the method works. In 2003, Russian scientists validated shungite's filtration properties in controlled laboratory conditions. And yet a $35 billion industry would rather sell you a plastic cartridge every 60 days. They did not stop teaching this because it failed. They stopped because it threatened their business model. But the knowledge did not die. It was waiting in ancient papyrus scrolls, in Roman engineering archives, in WHO research databases, in the memory of people who never forgot. And now sitting right here watching this video, you just reclaimed it. This knowledge did not vanish. It was buried under decades of corporate marketing and regulatory capture. But burial is not destruction. Everything they tried to erase is still here, still accessible, still proven. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what the industry spent billions trying to suppress. Every person who learns this is one less customer they can count on. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is even heavier than what we uncovered today, but you already know more than they ever wanted you to learn. You already possess what they tried to take. And that stone in your hand, that 20-cent piece of ancient technology, is worth more than every filter cartridge they will ever sell you. Because it works. It works forever, and it is yours.